We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the fourth Tom Bass Seminar on Diversity in Equestrian Sport. Today we're coming together to celebrate achievement and to explore possibilities. My name is Melvin Cox, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the fourth Tom Bass Seminar on Diversity in Equestrian Sport. Today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently than we've done in the past. We'll be looking at several videos that have been submitted to us as conversation starters. And these videos have been submitted to us by organizations from throughout the world. And we'll take a look at them and be able to comment on them from time to time. But before we begin, I'd like to just sort of go around the room with those who are online with us today, and have everyone say hello and introduce themselves, to say a little bit about who they are. And we'll take time during the seminar this afternoon to introduce people that will be joining us a little bit later. But I'd like to really start off, first of all, with our reigning national para-dressage champion. Mia, if you would do us the great honor of introducing yourselves and telling us a little bit about your life over the last year. You've won a national championship, which we are extremely proud of and extremely happy to have you on the call this afternoon. Mia, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Melvin. I appreciate it. So I'm the current 2022 national champion in para-dressage, and one of only, I think, 2 people of color at my level in the sport. So I'm honored to be here and to represent my country and my sport and my teammates and everything that I do. It is, they say it takes 20 years for an overnight success. And I think in this case, that's definitely accurate. And I'm excited to participate in a conversation that's so necessary. I think this seminar is crucial to what we do in our sport.
Very good. Well, we are just honored to have you here and to be hearing more throughout the afternoon about your great victory. We have a short video that you've submitted that really sort of tells your very unique story, I think, very, very well. Clifford, would you mind introducing yourselves and greeting those of us who are here today?
Well, this is a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for having this. My name is Clifford Oliver. I'm a photographer in upstate New York. I've been photographing horses, 30, 40 years, longer than I care to admit, in all of literally from rodeo to dressage. Right now I'm in my polo mode. So I'm pretty much the photographer for Mashomic Polo. And in a month or so, I'll be going to the U.S. Open.
Fantastic.
I don't ride anymore, but I still, love being around horses.
Well, we love having you with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, before we get to my better half, I'd like to introduce Jeff Newman. Jeff, if you don't mind saying a few words, and I guess turn your camera on and join the rest of us.
Yeah, sorry. My name is Jeff Newman. I run the Maryland 5-star at Fair Hill in the sport of eventing, so one of the 7 5-stars in the world. So thought it'd be very helpful to join.
Well, we're honored, and certainly we've been following your event since its inception a few years back, and certainly are very honored to have you join us today.
Thank you.
Okay. My wife, Pamela Glover Cox, the stage is yours.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I've been enjoying being a part of this with my better half. So being a part and learning interesting and new things. So welcome to all.
Very good. All right. As I said, what we're going to do today is look at a few videos that really tell a story of diversity in equestrian sport. This last year has just been incredible. I mean, every time I turn on the TV, every time I open a magazine, there is a very positive story out about someone who's doing something wonderful. We have a number of people that we'll be talking about throughout the afternoon, but one of them is with us right now. She's already introduced herself, Mia. So I'm going to take things a little bit out of order. And Mia, if I can go ahead and just show our friends and family the wonderful video that you submitted to us, I think it would be very, very helpful in starting to tell the story. If you don't mind, if you could just take a minute or two to just sort of set the scene, talk about the national championship, where it was, and what was going on at the time that this video was recorded. All right, and then we'll show the video and be able to talk about the various topics that you discuss in this video. Thank you.
Absolutely, Melvin. So this video takes place in August of 2022. It was, I think, moments after I had just been crowned the national champion. And it's in Chicago, Illinois at Lamplight Equestrian Center. And this was an extremely cathartic and I don't know if I have the words to describe all of the feelings I was feeling at this moment, but I feel like it was a massive win, not only for me, but for people who haven't been given a spot on a podium or haven't been given a chance at a spot at a podium. And I'm just honored to have that position. I'm truly honored.
Very good. All right. Well, without further ado, let's take a little look at this video, and then we can come back and talk about it once we've had a chance to share the video.
And my horse's name is Pudding, and we're from California. Of course, my freestyle is Beyonce, which I feel like is a very good representation of our vibe. And my trainer, Patty Mayer, and I started the choreography before we even had the music. It was a very creative, long, difficult process. I think we changed it, I don't know, more than 20 times before we had the perfect thing. We had to get it exactly perfect, exactly what we like, exactly what complemented both of our skills, and also we like to have fun. So we threw some fun half passes in there and some shoulder in because it just gets both of us really pumped and excited about life. It takes you on a journey. It builds, it crashes, it falls, it rises, and we're very proud of it. My favorite movement from the freestyle is, of course, the mirror image of the shoulder in that leads into a half pass and then reverse shoulder in, half pass extension. Like, it just gets us so stoked. We love it. We love to go fast. We love to sort of not only meet but exceed expectations. And of course it's not required of us, but why do what's just required of us? He definitely reacts a lot differently. And the first freestyle he'd ever done was with me a few months ago. And initially he was like, oh my gosh, what did I sign up for? And then by the second time he was like, I got this, girl. Don't even worry about it. It feels like a party on the last day of the show. It's like a big closeout, making an exit, having a good time. Pudding, before I had him, he sort of had some fear issues, some not behavioral issues per se, but he was a very fearful horse, a very untrusting horse, a very sort of cautious horse. We sort of built our trust together, and we've gotten to this point now where he trusts me enough to lead him into anything blind. Trust is at the foundation of our relationship. Love is at the foundation of our relationship. I think he just hadn't really seen the world. He hadn't had a foundation of love and trust and acceptance, and you know, a lot of people think that failure is not an option, that failure is the kiss of death, but I think that failure just means you have room for improvement. Failure is an opportunity to learn lessons and move on. So I think at the beginning of our relationship, it was a lot of having no fear of failure and just letting happen what is going to happen, being not reactive, and trusting the process.
Just trusting the process. Very, very, very good words. And thank you, Mia, for sharing this with us. Anyone who care to comment would really, it's a wonderful video. And again, congratulations to you, Mia, for your championship. I see that we've been joined by one of our distinguished guests from the continent of Africa. Papa Sek, welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much.
Great.
Yeah, very nice to see you all. I'm representing here my brother, Papa Sek. He's right now having a competition.
Ah, okay.
So, yeah. So he said that I should participate to the meeting. So the video I have just seen was really wonderful. So congratulations. So
Good.
That's yeah.
Good. And where are you joining us from?
So I'm right now in Senegal.
Ah, okay.
Africa.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good, yeah.
All right. Well, we thank you. And if you could please pass our regards on to Papa Sek for us, we'd really appreciate it. As for those of you who don't know, he is the chef d'équipe of Team Africa, the team that went to Aachen, Germany last summer and did so well in the youth equestrian games competitions. And one of the, obviously, the honorees from last year. Go ahead.
We apologize about the video. We normally supposed to send a video, but you see, in Africa, the network coverage is not very as good as the network coverage in Europe. So, the video is still loading. So that's why we apologize for that.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Not a problem. We actually have a wonderful piece submitted by the Confederation for Equestrian, the African Confederation for Equestrian Sports that we'll be screening shortly. But we're just so honored to have you join us from Senegal, and welcome. And thank you so much. And we look forward to having you comment as we go throughout the afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any comments on Mia's wonderful video? You're muted, Clifford. Clifford, you're muted.
I just wanted to comment on Mia's ride. It was quite the ride. Great ride. I can see why you won. Yeah, good horse, good horsemanship, and yeah, congratulations to all involved.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And in regards to the win as well, I think it started a really good dialogue about paradressage and people with disabilities in the national ring as far as championships. It's the first year where paradressage had been offered in any national championship class for Festival of Champions. And I think that is a massive, that's leaps and bounds because, as a paradressage person and a person of color, I'm constantly trying to get a seat at the table. All of us, all my teammates, we're all trying to get a seat at the table. And sometimes progress comes slowly, but in this case, just having paradressage classes available at a national championship is game changing. It's wonderful. And I think it's really, the times are sort of catching up slowly but surely. And I think, I think it's massively, it'll massively change the game.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for just a second, because I know we don't hear that much about paradressage. And let's be honest, paradressage does not get anywhere near the coverage that it should. Yet I know this weekend there's a big show in Doha, Qatar. And I had the pleasure to attend that about 7 or 8 years ago. And it was one of the few 5-star shows in the world where the paradressage athletes are treated absolutely on par with the show jumpers and the regular dressage riders. And it was really quite an honor to be there to see this and to really hear the comments of some of the people in the paradressage community who were saying, we come to Doha every year because it's the one place where we are treated as equals. And I think that's a very important point to note. The next thing that we're going to do, if you'll bear with me for just a second, I want to go back in time to someone that I think most of us have heard. Certainly he was the voice of equestrianism in the UK for many, many decades. And we were fortunate enough to meet him and have a chance to speak with him just 10 months before he passed on. Mike Tucker had a lot of influence as a writer, as a trainer, as a course designer, and most importantly, as the voice of equestrianism for the BBC. He had some very key words to say about equestrianism being an all-people sport. And I thought we would just sort of go back a few years in time and listen to the wisdom of Mike Tucker on the subject of equestrianism as an all-people sport.
As far as my strategy, if that's the right word, for broadcasting, I've always tried to make it interesting and the sport understood of what is good, what is not so good, what is a good riding technique and what is not such a good riding technique. And I think that's all got to be put into easy terms for everybody to understand. And undoubtedly there would be an approach that everybody thinks equestrian sport is for the richer part of society. It is actually a load of nonsense, because if you look at the people involved and the people who really want to work hard, whether it be riding, grooming, managing, there are lots of people who aren't rich people, and they realise that you work hard and you can get as much out of the sport as the very rich. So, I think it's a perception which we've got to work at in terms of media and general knowledge, really. I think, for instance, what the BBC do here, I think, is really good, because they go and talk to riders who are building up to a competition like this, and they look at the people behind them and so on. I think the more that people realise that, if people work hard, you can do this sport. You don't have to have millions of pounds necessarily to do it. I mean, I've come from a farming background. I'm a great believer, and I hope I'm not talking out of turn here, but I'm a great believer that networking, meeting people, talking to people, saying please, saying thank you, all the rather old-fashioned disciplines, if you like, I still think is very, very important. And I think the more we do that, the more we have a chance of spreading the word that this is an all-people sport when it really boils down to it.
The late and very, very great Mike Tucker. Anyone want to respond to the words that he left us with? It is an all-people sport. Clifford, you're muted again.
Yeah, I was just saying I like what he had to say about please and thank you, and how good manners can open a lot of doors. I know for me it certainly has, and but I think I'm probably close in age to what he was. And I hope good manners is not a fading thing.
We certainly hope it is not. Carol, welcome. Would you care to say hello? All right, I see a couple of raised hands. Mia and then Pamela.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think that sentiment is wonderful. Like a large quantity of my career has been funded by, the kindness of friends and strangers, grants, scholarships, things like that. And it's also important to note that the concept of like upward social mobility when it comes to people of color, people with disabilities, etc., it can be so I don't know what word to use. It can be so discouraging to get to a point where you want to be in this prohibitively expensive sport that has been reserved for a lot of the elite, wealthier people, and feeling discouraged before you can actually get a foot in the door. And I think oftentimes a lot of us struggle with the notion of people who can buy nicer horses than us, or people who can show more, or people who can train more, things like that. But I think that it's true. It comes down to a lot of kindness from friends and strangers, grant scholarships, programs by national federations, and I think I like what sentiment he's sharing. We all miss him lots.
Yes, yes. Anyone else could have comment? Do you have a comment? You're muted. You're still muted. It's right in your screen. Mm-hmm. No, the very bottom of your screen is a right.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I was just saying that I like the fact that he says it's for all people. So it gives people hope who are interested in it and can go around and learn from the different people um, and get more involved.
Very good, very good. Mike had a lot to say, and I just am very sorry that he's not with us any longer to continue really educating all of us. There's something I've noticed over the years, and that is the level of coverage in Europe, particularly in the UK, of equestrian sport is so very different than it is here. And so it's always a pleasure when you can hear someone whose career spanned the depth and width of Mike Tucker. Just a wonderful resource for a lot of people around the world. Mikhail, Ms. Proctor, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. No problem.
Good. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Mikhail Proctor is now, give us your title with the USEF and certainly tell us a little bit about your career in the vaulting and jumping worlds.
Yes, so I'm the Director of Membership, DEI, and Development here at US Equestrian. And then I'm also an athlete. I compete currently now in equestrian vaulting. And then I have previous experience doing show jumping as well.
Very, very good. And you are going to be sharing with us today a very, very special video that we'll be bringing up in just a moment that talks about the community outreach programs that are currently underway by the United States Equestrian Federation. Do you care to give us a little lead into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the community outreach program was part of our full DEI action plan that was launched back in 2021. So these organizations, they basically go through an application process that are meeting some of our kind of DEI points. So we're really overall just trying to bring the joy of horse sports to as many people as possible. And then also making sure that we're also paying close attention to some of the more underserved communities, whether that be in our minorities, disabilities, therapeutic, things of that nature. So we currently have about 23 organizations that are under the community outreach program right now. We just had our next round of applications for 2023. So we have 6 new organizations that are going through that process right now for them to join into this program. And then from there, these organizations are eligible for funding through our Opportunity Fund. So this fund is very specific for these organizations. They have to go through the same application process, and it is very competitive. So they basically will submit bids to us. We have a review committee that will review those. And so last year we were able to award a little over $62,000 to some of our community outreach organizations. And then we had a very generous commitment from our board of directors that for the next 3 years, they were going to basically put in $100,000 into that opportunity fund for the next 3 years on top of the fundraising efforts that we're doing. So we're getting ready to open up that process as well for our outreach organizations to apply for 2023 funding. And all that is going to be happening this spring. So it's a really exciting time for us right now.
I bet. We have a couple of questions from the floor just in terms of how one goes about applying for these grants, and then we'll show the video. But if you could just give us just a very brief overview of how one goes about applying for the grants and really what sorts of organizations qualify for these grants would be very helpful.
Yeah. So we are focusing on the nonprofit organizations. So the only ones that are eligible for grant funding are ones that have been approved as a USEF community outreach organization. So that process usually happens in the fall. So for our 2023 applicants, they submitted applications from October through January of this year. And then we are in the process now of finalizing their applications. Our review committee is actually scheduled to meet at the beginning of March to finalize if all 6 of those organizations will now be added to the program. And then from there, that's when we open up the Opportunity Fund grant. And then it's just those organizations that are eligible to apply for it. So they will basically submit their proposal. That will, of course, again, get reviewed by that review committee, and they'll kind of, list them out in tiers on which ones they feel are meeting the criteria that we're looking for. And then we try to get that money awarded usually sometime in the summer. This year, we're trying to get that money out a little bit sooner. I think last year it kind of went more in the fall timeframe, and we're wanting to try to get that money issued out. Our goal is by June of this year.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Let's take a look at the video from the USEF Community Outreach.
To improve quality of life
and to expand opportunities
and make a huge impact
by providing equine-assisted activities and therapies
for all kinds of different communities.
For kids and adults with disabilities,
young people who have physical, psychological, social, behavioral, and cognitive challenges.
Kids in urban environments.
For veterans, for seniors, for people with autism.
For children who have been in foster care.
Children who are part of public housing programs.
We do our best to serve as many people as we can.
Regardless of socioeconomic status.
We all believe that horses make people's lives better. Horses, equestrian sport, access to horses, being around horses.
It is extremely expensive to manage a horse farm like this in the equestrian center, but we meet the challenge because we think it's important to have our children have the same resources and opportunities as any other child.
The girls that attend our program primarily live at the poverty level and below.
We are committed to cultivating young, aspiring athletes in grades 3 through 12 nationwide. We have the conversation with our students to change it from if I'm going to college to where I'm going to college.
I'm proud to say hundreds of girls in our program have gone on to college, trade school, or into the military.
We make an impact really by making a lot of kids' dreams come true and bringing more diversity into the horse world.
We provide equine-assisted therapies and activities to children and adults with special needs.
These activities are fun and create an opportunity for participants to improve their physical, cognitive, and emotional well-being.
What's great about our programs here is we're working on developing functional skills, a niche skill that the child needs to succeed in their daily life.
start a program that serves veterans and people in recovery from addiction. Veterans come to us with significant challenges. So what we do is we facilitate the healing process with veterans. Caring for and bonding with our horses gives vets a real sense of purpose and hope.
The effect of learning how to work with horses is really key to help them change their own lives. We believe that horses can do a lot of things and solve a lot of problems.
Through riding and the transformational skills that horses can teach all of us.
We are committed to changing lives one ride at a time.
I am so excited,
so thankful.
Thrilled to be a part of
the USEF outreach program.
Because it not only allows us to have access to more resources, it
provides cross-pollination between organizations that are looking to create diversity, equity, and inclusion for all in this great sport.
We are grateful to the USEF for offering the opportunity
to link arms with others in this space.
Other organizations doing this work.
When we ride united
and ride together,
that's when we all win.
Ride united.
Ride together.
Thank you.
Ride united, ride together. Very good words of wisdom. I think that gives us a lot of background. It gives us a lot of food for thought. Our next video that's coming up in just a few minutes is talking about one of the many programs that is addressing issues of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion in this country. And we're going to be looking at other programs such as this throughout the world. I believe Mia has a question, comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that USEF has this wonderful program called the Pathways Program, which essentially links people with disabilities in centers of excellence across the country on a pathway to competitive dressage and competitive paradressage. And I think that that is one of the single-handedly most utilized thing to like grow our team as paradressage. And I think everything that USEF is doing when it comes to supporting veterans, people with disabilities, and underprivileged communities is just wonderful and crucial. And I'm very pleased to see all this progress.
Fantastic. Mr. Sek, you had a comment.
Yeah, I thank you, and I bring my congratulations to that video. And we can see that we have almost the same program in Senegal here. So many kids they have been abandoned by the parents. So in our programs, so we include training for those kids. See, so training with horses. And we got a lot of good results. So I really appreciate this video because it's very, it's a nice video, and we use to encourage people, helping people through horse programs. Yeah, so this is a very great thing. So we encourage that.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, we would certainly love to see some sort of corroboration between equestrians here in the United States and those in Senegal and other countries throughout the world. So we'll certainly be in touch after this event today, and look forward to possibly working with you and others to move this ball forward. The next piece we're going to look at is submitted by the Legacy Equine Academy. It is a Kentucky-based organization that has achieved a great deal of success in reaching out to students, particularly from underprivileged backgrounds. So let's take a look at this video and then compare and contrast it to some of the other programs that are going on throughout the world. The Legacy Equine Academy.
The Legacy Equine Academy is an educational program started by equine enthusiast Ron Mack, teaching Black students about careers in the horse racing and agricultural industries. But this education goes beyond the classroom. These students are getting a first-hand look at everything equine. We caught up with some of the students as they visited Keeneland.
Has anybody ever watched a horse auction before? Awesome.
Legacy Equine Academy started in 2016. And what we do is we help bring opportunities and awareness and access to African Americans as well as racially diverse youth within Kentucky. So when we think about the equine industry, oftentimes it becomes, it's through a limited perspective. So we are broadening the horizons on all of the different opportunities that exist, not just in the equine industry, but agriculture as well. And so we're exposing them to the different levels of occupations, whether it be from grooming to working in marketing and sales, working in administration, business. So we're just helping to broaden the scope of how that whole field is viewed and what different opportunities lie within.
You want to be my horse transportation.
My group of students who participate with the Legacy Equine Academy is called Kappa Club. The reason why we got involved with the Legacy Equine Academy is because several years ago when I started the program, I've talked to Ron many times and he wanted to work with us. And so I said, why not? Because we are in Kentucky. We are learning more about agriculture. And so this is a great a vehicle to do that through the Legacy Equine Academy.
When you look from 6th to 12th grade, that is like a prime decision-making time when people start to go, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Well, it probably helps to have access and a viewpoint to where you can go, okay, these are the different types of jobs and careers and opportunities available. But it's even better if you can actually go and become immersed in that to really get some hands-on experience and get a close-up view of what life would be like in that career.
2 doors behind you that say credit.
I want them to take that they can do anything possible, whether it's working with horses, whether it's working on a farm, whether it's owning the farm. I want them to know that they can do anything they set their mind to in agriculture and beyond.
We create not only a broadening of horizons, but we give a way to take that academic or that classroom learning and move it into a career where that knowledge is applicable. So when you can apply your knowledge and you can utilize it to sustain, to make a good living for yourself, I think that is hugely important. And the horsing industry, I don't think is going anywhere anytime soon.
110, 20, 20, 80, 30, 30, now 40, 40, 50, 50. Somebody's got to bid. 60.
The Legacy Equine Academy is open to middle and high school students in Fayette County. It hopes to expand and reach more students across the Commonwealth.
Comments? Thoughts? Is this the sort of program that is going to make a difference?
Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. I got to say, this whole program, we've only been on 40 minutes now, and this is just wonderful. I can't thank the USCF for sponsoring this. I'm sorry I came in late, because I see this is the 4th Tom Bass seminar.
Yes.
And boy, the first 3 must have been really, really good for this to continue.
Well, let me tell you, we have been absolutely blessed. There are so many people that have bent over backwards to make this a reality, to make this happen. We had the first one in 2019 here at the Tryon International Equestrian Center, and it was evident from day one that this was something that needed to be continued. It was evident that these were conversations that were very necessary and very vital. And it's been our pleasure to just be able to continue with a lot of support from a lot of people throughout the country and really throughout the world to really, really get this going. So we're just honored, and I thank you so much for your comments. Mia, you had a comment on the video.
Yeah, well, just piggybacking off of what you said, I think that this seminar in general is like a checkup or a compass of where the mercury lies in the horse world. Like, I feel that having this seminar every year, which I have been so blessed to be a part of, really shows, like, it's a good gauge of how we are as a society, how we are in the horse world, which, let's be real, if we're in the horse world, there's nothing outside of that we know anyway. And I think that this is a wonderful sort of socioeconomic, political checkup in our little universe that we're in, and I hope this keeps going and going and growing, because it's wonderful.
Well, it is certainly our hope to keep it going, and hopefully to bring more people in and people getting involved in this year throughout year. It's just been, again, our pleasure, and I know Pam has something to add to this, but it's just been really our pleasure to make this happen. So thank you very much. Pam?
Okay, I just wanted to add, from looking at the last video, I like the fact that it tapped into the kids ages 6th to 8th grade or something like that, helping them figure out what to do with the rest of their life and showing them opportunity and giving them some ideas of the different positions and some hands-on experience. So I think that's always good.
Yes, indeed. And Ron Mack and his team with the Legacy Equine Academy are definitely to be congratulated. And I know that they are actually looking to expand this program beyond just Kentucky. They're looking to expand it really coast to coast. And I think this is just a sort of activity that's going to keep a lot of people on the straight and narrow, and it's going to change a lot of lives, you know. And so we need these sorts of programs for our youth, wherever they may be throughout the world. So Ron and his team are to be definitely congratulated. For those of you who have not yet had a chance to say hello, to introduce yourselves, if you can come on board. I see several folks that have joined us since the beginning. Catherine, would you mind saying a few words to everyone to say hello and let people know who you are? I believe you're muted.
Is that, there we go.
There you go. Okay.
Is that it? Okay. Hi, I'm Catherine Hunter. I live in the Tryon area, not far from Melbourne, actually. And my background is U.S. Cavalry forward riding system training, which a lot of people know of as the American forward riding system. And that includes everything from French classical dressage to the forward riding of the Italian cavalry and the steppe horsemen. And my last 20 years, I've been working to help rehabilitate horses that have been damaged by a lot of the modern hurry-up, rush to the show ring techniques. I've been an equestrian journalist as well, and Melvin and I are working. Is it okay if I talk about this, Melvin?
Yeah, if you care to. Go ahead.
We've been working on trying to create a version of Legacy Equine here in the Tryon area. We see a tremendous need for it, and we think it's an amazing, incredible difference in the world, and that's where we are, I guess. I'm excited about it.
Thank you. Anyone else that has not yet been introduced? Please go ahead. Yes. Yeah, you'll need to unmute yourself. There we go.
I figure out what I'm doing. Okay, let me put that down. I'm just an interested party. So I've been riding since I was 10, which is over 50 years now. And became disabled and had been riding in the therapeutic riding program and learning dressage since I've come back into it. And I'm just always interested in learning more about diversity. It's part of the job that I'm in. I'm a chaplain at a hospital. And I volunteer at a therapeutic riding program. And I guess what's going through my mind is, how do we get involved in, like if I belonged to the therapeutic riding stable, how would we become a community participant, or if there's a website or something?
Anyone want to pick that up? Mr. Proctor, your thoughts?
Well, I think first and foremost is just having the idea. I think people realize like ideas are seeds. And so what we need to do is just coming together and we're nurturing these, looking at all of these different programs, this common theme that you're going to find across the country is it's that accessibility and exposure. You really have to understand like that's somewhat of an issue really in any city. It's really awesome that over in Tryon, like you guys are trying to do something similar to what's happening, here in Kentucky. And you're going to see that, from Philadelphia all the way across the country to LA.
I said, I'm in Philadelphia.
Yeah. So you really have to, one, start with the seed and realize that your idea is useful. And then it's just surrounding yourself with people that are going to be in support of you. Okay. So my biggest thing, and just advice I give it from me teaching my students and everything, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. So write it down.
I need
and then really just kind of branch out from there, get some people in your circle and, find, some experts within those industries. And then even I love getting folks, us as horse people, we're really good at looking at things inside of our industry and inside of our circle, but you really have to appreciate and learn to appreciate the perspective of someone outside of the equine industry looking in to what we're doing. And just seeing that perspective along with ours, it changes that whole conversation. It really opens your mind up to things that we would have never really thought of because we're stuck inside. So, yeah.
I'm thinking I haven't checked lately to see what was going on with Pura. Do you know? Because I'm thinking that would probably be the first person I should reach out to.
Yeah, her name's Erin Brown. She's wonderful. So she helps run that program down in Philadelphia, and they actually are in the process of opening up a new facility that they hope to hopefully have completed next year. You know how everything is with construction. They give us a date and you got to add 6 months to it. But it really depends. But I think a lot of the work that they're doing there is excellent. So she would be an excellent resource to reach out to.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Would you mind repeating your initial question? We've got a text message.
I don't remember.
Well, I think it was about how one gets started, how one would go about getting started with a program such as this.
Oh, that wasn't me. But I only started thinking about that when I'm hearing other people talk. But yeah, I was just wondering how to get involved in this, I guess, core organization to sort of, because I would need help. I mean, where I am, we are diverse. We are, as far as students go, not instructors, but the students are, and we're all inclusive. But the people running it, if I went in and proposed anything, would probably be like, well, talk to so-and-so, and then so-and-so would probably just drop. Because I don't have any standing there really as I'm a volunteer. So yeah, my question is, how would you get more involved in the process with the place that you're riding at, the Therapeutic Riding Center? We're not quite a center of excellence, but we have a certain amount of path visibility, I guess. Anyway,
Good.
I'm kind of vague here.
Jeff Newman, you're of course involved at a very high end of the sport of the eventing world. But do you see any room, any parallels, any room for cooperation with some of the organizations that are possibly in your area or other organizations that are here on the East Coast in working with the Maryland 5-Star in the future? Do you see opportunities to bring more diversity into your operation, into your organization, and expand your audience. So part of the thing that we really have to look at is diversity means expanded audiences, and expanded audiences mean more dollars in terms of sponsorship, television, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's obviously why I'm on the call is, want to increase our audience and how diverse it is. I mean, the best thing with eventing to start out with is that men and women compete together as equal. And now we need to, add some more diversity from, race and others. But, I went to see Aaron speak recently through the Maryland Horse Industry Board. We have another program here locally called City Ranch in Baltimore. And there's several other organizations that do amazing things. So I'm actually leading kind of the charge to, figure out the best way to have all these organizations be profiled through the events that are in October. We actually have something called Maryland Horse Month that is in October because we have 3 major equestrian events that take place at the same time during the month of October. The Maryland Million in one discipline in racing. We have the Washington National Horse Show, show jumping, and then of course the Maryland 5-Star with, an eventing. So it's something that I feel, really strongly about because I actually come from a tennis background and ran an event in DC for 22 years. And it was positioned in a place to try to create more diversity in DC. It was actually co-founded by Arthur Ashe. And the best thing that could happen is to have a participant, like Mia, for example, where youth can see that they can aspire to the highest level, that they can do it too. And so, I mean, let's take, for example, with Mr. Sec that's on the call, if there's any way that we can figure out how to get some participants from Senegal to participate in the Maryland 5-Star, I mean, that's where I'd love to see some funding and some help maybe through the USEF, where we can help underwrite some of the costs, to get, people of color to participate at the highest level and figure out how we can, showcase that. Because when youth see the competitors, there's no better way to influence participation and diversity than to see people that look like themselves, participate at the highest level. So that's what I'd like to see. I mean, again, I think, the highest level of sport, is the best way to influence youth. I think it goes that way as opposed to grassroots up. And I've seen it happen in tennis with the likes of James Blake and Francis Tiafoe and others that participate. And once people have, see that, they aspire to it. So those are my thoughts. And I'd love to see a way that, we can get more athletes to participate, because I think that will then translate into diversity in the audience.
Very good. We have a couple of questions from the floor. We'll go to Clifford first and then to Mia.
I didn't really have a question. I'm in awe of this entire panel. I think this is just fabulous. I did want to make a comment about getting involved, and I think Makeel said it earlier. Plant the seed. You plant the seed. You just plant the seed, and things will grow. You will see a path of your way will be lightened. You've got the interest. It's a good product. It's a good idea. I think it'll take off. Jeff, I'm fast. I've photographed eventing, and it is certainly one of the more exciting equestrian sports. And wow, there's if you can't find a homegrown eventer, you've got to build one. You find those little kids and just nurse them along the way. I'm having such a good time here. Thank you.
Mia? You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I want to say I 100% agree with you, Jeff. Like, in my personal experience, obviously I've been in the sport my whole life, and you get the magazines in the mail every month, like dressage letters and US Equestrian, all these sorts of things. and you're so excited. You look at the glossy pages and it's like a whole visceral experience. Like, oh my gosh, my heroes, like they just got a 77% or, you know, whatever. And like every month I would look forward and be like, okay, like where are the Anna Buffinis, or where are the other people that represent anything outside of this very tiny niche that has sort of occupied our sport for a very long time. Recently now, you know, I get dressage connections or CBS or whatever, and I see more and more faces that I can relate to, and people I can relate to, and people that I see myself as. And I think that it's so disheartening, like growing up and not seeing anybody like you in the thing that you like dedicated your entire life to. Like and it's this like feeling you can't quite explain unless you've experienced it firsthand. But the feeling of being like wildlife.
A portion of their video with us, which we're going to take a look at in just a moment. But again, we're going to look at equestrian sports as we move into our second hour. We're going to look at equestrian sports now throughout the world. So we're going to look first at the piece submitted by the British Ethnic Riders Forum, and then we're going to look at a wonderful piece on the state of equestrian sport in Africa, which I think will open a lot of eyes to different possibilities. So we're going to look at that, and we'll be moving into our international section as we go into our second hour. So here we are. Hold on, just give me just a second here. Let's see. Okay, I got the wrong, I had the wrong piece here. All right, bear with me, folks. And we'll go back into, okay, here we are. All right, so without further ado, the piece submitted by the British Ethnic Riders Forum.
The B-Race Centre to allow young people like Renee and Brianna to access the facilities and the trainers that are available to their non-black counterparts, you know, in the rural areas. So we're hoping to do that, and we need as much support as we can get. And that's where we're struggling a little bit, is getting the support. So we are, you will hear about us, we are going to be something quite big in the industry, because we are pushing for that, to try and get some support from the bigger organisations. As a part of this, we've spoke to Pony Club, and they're very keen to come on board and to help out. And Helia at the end now, I'm going to let Helia introduce herself, but we have formed the Pony Club Youth Committee, so Helia is on board with that as well. So I'm going to pass you on to Helia and let her explain.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Helia Mahipli-Rad. I'm a student in sixth form. I'm 17 years old and I've applied for uni. I've applied for veterinary. I think I'm going to speak about my experience being a woman in STEM, that's also in the equine industry, and wants to be a vet. Without birth and without the opportunities that they've presented me, I don't think I'd be pushed in the way that I am. Saying that, they've provided me with the Edinburgh Summer School, veterinary summer school experience, which was quite amazing. But even there, you'd see how many people are like me. You know, there's mainly people that have come from quite privileged, quite horsey backgrounds, and again, they will be white people to say that, and you would still be there, and you would still get a couple of stares, and it would kind of be feeling like, why are you here? In a way. And saying that, in 2018, I worked as a Cheltenham Castle for the Pony Club Water Pony Care Championships, and again, me as a person, and probably my mum, and all of us here, if you were there, you probably would have felt a bit underrepresented. The only other person that was baying, apart from me and my mum, was probably a cleaner. And again, although I haven't kind of experienced extreme racial discrimination against me, I have had a couple of looks up and down. It's like, okay, again, what are you doing here? You're not like one of us. Saying that, people in our community and an ethnic minority community also do have a stigma, I think, about equestrians overall. And with what Renee said, someone asks you, especially coming from the inner city, I'm from North London, how much is your lesson? You're like, oh, it's X amount. And again, they give you that look. It's like, you're privileged, you can afford this, but not really everyone sees the struggles that people do have to face. You know, your parents will have to go without to provide you with what you need to get where you are, or where you can actually get, although it might not be where you want to get. So saying that, with being on the Pony Club Youth Committee, again, without Sandra, I wouldn't have known about this opportunity. I want to try and bring together more inclusivity, riding lessons being more affordable, and although it is hard, again, with the cost of living crisis going up, it's like, okay, I want to do this. I might not want to do this because of my ideas. Breaking down those ideas, breaking down those walls, especially with money, and being like, okay, I can do this. I'm not an outsider from where I want to be. And again, with everyone, I think everyone's on the same page. It's a whole community. You're sitting there, everyone's looking at you, everyone's supporting you throughout every step of the way. And again, inclusivity is just having everyone being together and not having any stigmas around you, regardless of whatever race you are, whatever ethnic minority you're from, or your social class background.
Thank you, Helia. That was brilliant. I think she needs a clap for that. Come on, guys. You know, it's not easy for these guys to sit up here. It's quite tough. Thank you. I'm going to just...
And we thank our friends at the British Ethnic Riders Forum, Sandra Murphy and company, for sharing this video with us. Again, this was shot at the London International Horse Show held just this past December. Any thoughts on this as we begin the international phase of our discussion? Mia?
Yeah, I just want to say that I 100% agree with this. As I'm sure many of us have experienced a lot of discrimination in our sport. And I know that USEF now has sort of implemented a reporting process when it comes to discrimination or bullying or things of that nature, independently of Safe Sport, which I'm sure we're familiar with. But also, there is sort of a culture of if you ruffle too many feathers, you know, you report a teammate or you report a spectator or you report somebody for being hateful to you, it doesn't always end favorably for you. So I think it's maybe cathartic, although discouraging, to hear stories very similar that I think a lot of us can relate to. Because I think that if we keep that feeling inside of us and we don't express it, we're all just gonna go. It's like, you know, cultural gaslighting in a way, I suppose. So I appreciate other people speaking about this, because Lord knows we sometimes get a little bit fearful, rightfully so, of speaking on discrimination we faced in our sport.
Exactly. Any other thoughts on that topic? The thing that stood out to me was really in listening to our friends in the UK was really how similar things are there to situations here in the United States, and many of the same issues that we have traditionally fought in the horse world here in America, we see replicated in other parts of the world, very, very sadly. So it's definitely something that I think we need to fight on a united front, and it's something that hopefully our children and grandchildren and their children and grandchildren will not have to face in the future. That's one of the reasons why we are having the Tom Bass Seminar for its 4th year in a row, just to talk about these sorts of issues. Catherine, do you have a question? Comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. Aside from this just making me sad and distressing me that this happens in this day and age, I'm a big history of horsemanship nerd, and as I study horsemanship and look back through history, the best riders throughout history have not been Europeans. The greatest riders in history have been people in North Africa, people in the Middle East, people in Asia, the steppe horsemen. They could ride circles around Europeans because we were busy doing dressage in a small enclosed area, and they were galloping across fields and doing all kinds of gymnastics on their horses, and they were phenomenal cavalry. And we have so much to learn from this rich history, and it's like we don't pay any attention to it.
It's out there. What steps do you think can be taken? And this is really a question not just to you, Catherine, but to the full panel. What steps can we take to beat this down? I can remember growing up years ago and not hearing a thing about the wonderful legacy of the 10th U.S. Cavalry or the 9th U.S. Cavalry. I was in my 30s before I met the late Captain John Clark, who was actually the African American cavalry officer who organized the U.S. drill teams back in the 1930s that competed at Madison Square Garden. You know, there's such a rich history of horsemanship in all communities that we just don't hear about. So I just want to throw the question out to everyone on this call as to what do you think can be done to begin telling these stories. We're going to show a couple of more videos this afternoon that begin to address these questions. But I'm just want to throw it out to everyone. What can we do to begin telling our side of the story and sort of, you know, balancing this narrative? As Catherine said, not everyone is going to, you know, ride in an enclosed dressage ring.
If I may, maybe if we could just educate people that there are other forms of riding besides dressage. This happened in the 15 and 1600s in Europe as people became more well off. There was so much wealth. Dressage became this tremendous art form, and everybody aspired to it. And a colleague of mine recently said she sees that happening today. Everybody thinks dressage is the answer, the only way of riding, even for schooling jumpers and hunters. They think dressage is the end all of everything. Dressage is a wonderful tool, but it's not the only way of riding. It's not the only way of training. And we have this incredible rich history across the globe of another approach to riding that opens so many more doors than just dressage. And that might be a segue into saying, look, these people rode this way and they could cover 100 miles a day on their horse without wearing out their horses, and they could jump and they could gallop and they could stand up on their horses and shoot bows and all this incredible, exciting, fun, adventuresome stuff that people aren't doing today. That's something I can think of. It's just education. Get the word out there more.
Absolutely. And I think that's a challenge not just here in the U.S., but certainly, you know, all around the world. Mia?
Yeah, and to that note, education is so crucial. And I think that a lot of it falls on editorial publications or federations or things like that to showcase the rich history. Like, for instance, I always say, always carry the sand in your shoes of where you came from. And I think a lot of us forget where our disciplines originate from. For instance, cowboys historically have been Latinx and Black. And then there was this massive wave, you know, mid 20th century of all of these black and white movies portraying white cowboys and only white cowboys. Same thing with dressage. Is the classic principles of dressage come from, this is kind of a long story, but I think it's important to note that many hundreds of years ago, during warfare, traditionally chariots were used for traveling long distances or for speed or for transporting people or goods or weapons or whatever. And then in the Middle East and Asia, this sort of trend faded out where warfare was done on the backs of horses as opposed to behind horses. When colonizers went to Asia and they saw people doing pirouettes, which is, you know, a classic principle of dressage, or they saw people doing, in quotation marks, warfare tactics that had been turned into the art form of what is now known as dressage, you know, history is written by the victors. And in this case, that's the people with the most guns, germs, and steel. And, when we forget our entire history, they teach you, you know, when you learn dressage, when you're in a lifelong educational dressage program like I am, they teach you literally, this is a French art form. The terminology is French. All the principles are European, but what they forget to mention is they're descended, the concepts are descended from European colonizers who went to colonize Asia and the Middle East and took it for their own without giving any credit where credit is due. And it's not well known, and it's not by the fault of the people or the athletes. There's no sort of continuing education. Like, for instance, we have Safe Sport for USEF, and I think that is so necessary. But we don't have sort of yearly or, you know, every few years educational training when it comes to history of our sport or sort of diversity in our sport or things like that. Like, I think really what needs to happen is a cultural change in the way we are shown in publications, information that's shown in publications. Because I think we all know most horse publications you read is like, okay, here's the top 3 riders in the world. That's all you'll ever know. And we focus on the present, not the past, because I think the past is a little bit uglier than a lot of people want to remember. But we all know the old adage that if you forget the past, you're doomed to repeat it. And I think that's very accurate in this case.
Absolutely. Yeah. Peggy, you had a comment? I see a raised hand.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay, there you are. I'm sorry.
Can you turn your camera on, please?
No.
All right.
Sorry. I'm not exactly dressed for company, thank you.
I got it. Okay.
Okay, as I said earlier, I've been involved in horses for many a year. And to comment on some of the comments, there has always been education out there, just like there's education about just about anything. All anybody would have to do is Google horse, and you could find anything and everything you ever wanted to find out. I think what you're facing is what it's always faced: disinterest. Horses are a whole other thing. They're not like a tennis racket. They're not like a pair of skis. They're not like a basketball. The biggest percentage of people, anytime I would tell people my living was derived from being in the horse business, they'd say, oh, you do rodeo. That is primarily what any non-horsey person had any knowledge of, nor do they care. And you can talk all you want about getting people more interested, but going to your average horse show and watching horse after horse after horse go around and do the same thing, unless they just love horses, boring. Most people can't afford to love a horse, whether we want to admit that or not, and the USEF doesn't want to. You can't afford it. The cost of keeping a horse, having a horse, isn't just buying the horse. It's everything that comes after it. How many people actually live who are interested in it where they can keep a horse? Unless you're referring to people in the Great Southwest, in my part of the country, a lot of people still keep them to work cattle. They're working horses, or they're horses they take on trail rides. They're at dude ranches and what have you. There's plenty of information out there, and lots of efforts have been made to expand that information. Horse shows advertise up the wazoo to try to get people to come out. You have a following of people who think horses are great. They don't know, they don't care if they have one. They like to watch them. Getting that group to grow nowadays, with our world the way it is, not going to happen. Sorry. And most people don't live where they can keep one, and most people can't afford them. And most people find them quite boring. And if they're not that feeling about them, they're scared of them. They're big. They don't understand what cowards they are. We need to concentrate on the people already in our industry and provide them with everything we can in the way of being able to participate in our industry. Most of the people who would like to show, a good percentage of them can't, because they can't afford it. And all they do is continue to tout in every magazine and everything I read and see, the big shows. all the big guys. And it doesn't matter what color anybody is. Nobody ever gave a damn in this group. I've had every conceivable kind of person that I've been involved with. And my shows right now, I can tell you, I looked around last year, here came Indians, Black people, Chinese people. They liked horses and wanted to get in it. They got in it. But the interest and the enthusiasm to do it, I'm sorry. You can talk about it all you want. Good luck. The information's out there. If people want it, they'll find it. We've got every conceivable way to find stuff nowadays. I don't hear any talk here about how all you've talked about is history, and I'm not even sure what else. Has anybody said anything about one thing about what is it you plan to do to make people want to get a horse or get involved with horses? One thing, anybody on this panel, name one. A good one, a solid one that would work.
Catherine?
Well, I think the Legacy Equine program in Kentucky and the program that Melvin and I are working to put together addresses that. And I agree with a lot of what you said regarding the access to horses and the horse shows being boring, etc. One of the things that we want to do in our program is, when we start making it happen, is to show the students or the kids that are involved that there are other things they can do besides show or trail ride.
What students? Be specific. What students are you talking about? Going to show your students? Who?
Well, our program will be targeted toward economic and racially diverse youth.
Where?
Similar to in our area.
Just your area in Kentucky?
No, we are forming an area in Tryon, North Carolina. The Legacy Equine program wants to expand across the country. So we are hoping to be a branch of that or a version of that.
And what does it take to get involved with that? You're saying extended across the country. How? How and what does that involve?
My understanding, and Melvin helped me with this, is that Legacy Equine wants to have other chapters around the country.
Correct. Now, we've spoken with Ron Mack, the founder of Legacy, and he has expressed a desire to form chapters around the country. I know that he's speaking to some people in California. He's speaking to groups on the East Coast and in the Midwest. So it's a little bit premature, but I think that he's going to be very successful in spreading his particular program.
And what does form a chapter mean? What is this chapter going to do? Who does this chapter involve? How do people know about it? How do they get on it? Explain it.
That is going to be explained in the next few months through a series of press releases, through videos, through forums such as this, where Legacy will be reaching out to different communities across the country, and in an attempt to find students, to find instructors, to find sponsors who will sign on to their vision and begin to promote it throughout the country. Clifford, I believe you had a comment. You're muted.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that as an artist, I feel I'm to blame for not getting word out. You know, people. I think if people see horses, you know, and you're right, the show people are too far removed. You get up close, you know. Horses are they're a tactile neighbor. You know, we've that's how we get word out. We've been neglectful in spreading the good joy that they bring, that these fellow Earthlings bring.
Once again, Mr. Oliver, spread it how? Putting it in horse magazines that already horse people read.
Well, not just horse magazines. I mean every magazine, every newspaper, TV shows.
Okay, USEP, has talked about that for years, that they should have had a department. This came up years ago, brought up by a very good friend of mine who I and her talked about it. She ran shows for years. She's one of the biggest producers around. And we talked about it for years, that the USEF does nothing to promote the sport, to anybody other than the people already in it. If they would take some of their money, why aren't we in the sports magazines? Why aren't we on ABC, CB, all your alphabet things? Why haven't they made any? They want to grow. They say they want to grow, and that's because they need more money and want more money, and yet they won't invest money in telling the general populace about the sport. They don't do it. They talk to the same group of people already in the sport over and over. So if they want this to be so well known, where's their part in it? They haven't done squat.
Well, I beg to differ. I got to think that just the mere fact that we are here, that we're all gathered together talking about this is a big change for US.
Are you a horseman, Mr. Oliver?
Yes,
so you already are a horseman.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you weren't a horseman, would you be here? Would you know about this?
I think so.
You do? How?
Yeah, I think so, because I live in an area where there are horses. You know, I'm uniquely situated between Saratoga Springs, which has racetrack, and Vermont, which has great working horses, pulling horses. That's why I say, as an artist, I feel that I'm not putting out enough word. My fellow artists, we're, it's a new society now. Was it in the old days, poor men had horses and rich men had cars? And now today it's like poor men have cars and only rich men have horses.
They're the only ones that can afford them.
Well, and again, too, different. I do a lot of work with polo right now. And polo clubs, there's some 200 in America. They're situated very uniquely because now they can have shared expenses, rather than have one man own 10 horses. Polo is very horse hungry, eats up a lot of horses. Rather than have one man have 10 horses, now we got clubs that own 20 horses and they share, the expenses. And I'm thinking that's happening with riding stables now too.
Riding stables have always done that. I ran a riding stable. We had 20 horses that we used to give lessons on. And the biggest percentage of people that came and took lessons never bought a horse. They learned how to ride, and that was fun. And then they moved on. So that's always been happening, and it still is. I'm in this industry. I know the people, and they run barns, and they have lesson horses. But why hasn't the USEF let the world know that people can go take a lesson by getting advertising and putting their name out there and putting our sport out there? They have never done it, and they're not doing it now.
Right. We have a couple of people waiting to comment. We'll go first to Mikhail and then to Mia.
So Peggy does bring up a lot of very valid points here. And it kind of goes back to kind of what I was saying earlier. We as horse people, we've spent a lot of time viewing things from inside of our circle. And if you really want to understand on how to bring people inside of the circle, you have to step outside of it. So that is something where, now that I've joined on with USEF, is something that I am trying to change while I'm here, is changing the scope and the spectrum that we're on. And so what the first step of that, what they have done, which is nowhere near to the finish line, but the first thing that they did was looking at this fan initiative. And so looking at our membership list just today versus a year ago, before, our membership was pretty much comprised of competing members and then subscribing members, basically people in the horse industry. When you look at it today, the numbers that are in USEF actually now are majority fan memberships, which some of those can be horse and non-horse people, which is a really huge step in getting the word out there. Is now we're starting to attract a lot of different people that are putting an eye on our sport. Are we at the finish line? We're nowhere close, but this is a step in the right direction. And what I'm doing now, especially like with a lot of our marketing meetings, is saying now that you have this huge fan base, that a lot of these people are not horse people, we have to change the way that we're putting information out there. You can't just say dressage and not explain what that is. A non-horse person isn't going to know what that is. So it's getting our educational tools and things of that nature. You're going to have to start adjusting how that information is shared. And then those lessons are going to teach you on how to get in with these folks like the ABCs and the NBC Sports and things of that nature. But if you just come at it just strictly from a horse perspective, that's not going to work. We have to look outside of the equine industry to understand how to get inside of it.
Right.
And that's the next piece of that puzzle. So I definitely do agree with what Peggy is saying. A lot of this has been just going in circles inside of this circle. And this fan initiative has really, from my experience in just the equine industry, is really the first step of jumping outside of that. Now you're gathering in these other people. Now you've got to learn how to cater to them. You know, in our magazine, this magazine is being sent out to primarily horse people. Now it can go out to non-horse people. So if you're looking at advertisements in there, not everybody is going to want to read about the most expensive Charles Owen helmet. You know, you've got people that aren't going to buy that because they're not horse people. So we need to start putting and getting some advertisements in there that actually appeal across all of your audiences, which in turn is now bringing in more potential for different sponsors that are not just horse sponsors.
Right.
So it's really, we're starting to get that little shift in there, but it's a marathon. This is not a sprint. It is a marathon to get there. And it's getting everybody on board with this, getting our board of directors on board with it, getting our executive staff on board, our marketing team on board with this. But I think we are heading in that direction. But just like Peggy was saying, this is what's been happening. We've just been going in a circle. That's got to stop if we really, truly want to see the growth that we're wanting.
Exactly. Mia, you had a comment?
Yeah. And I agree as well. I think that we've sort of been fed this narrative that dressage is not a spectator sport, which I think is true to an extent and also not true. For instance, you compare it to another sport like basketball. You put the ball in the hoop, straightforward, it's very, the rules are well understood. I mean, do I know what a forward is in basketball? No. Do I even know if that's something in basketball? No. But I know that the goal of basketball is to get the ball in the hoop. With dressage, it's like very technically complicated for even me, who's in the middle of this, to understand at times. However, I've been seeing wonderful marketing campaigns that are an excellent gauge of where they're hitting. I don't know if this was USOPC or IOC or a national federation, but for instance, Tokyo, during the freestyles, they had Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg, which of course is not the most easily accessible marketing to achieve, commenting and saying that a horse was crip walking and saying that the horse was in the club. It's more relatable content than I think we're used to seeing. When you see oh yes, this Piaf Passage tour was excellently executed and very over the back and stuff. We've all heard that a million times. I think we're all tired of, at least I am, sometimes get disillusioned with that concept. But to have relatable marketing that is to normal humans and not this concept of the tortured artist, the black swan of dressage, appealing to people that are from every walk of life, every range of knowledge of horse sports in general, utilizing things there's been a massive cultural change when it comes to marketing overall for all companies, utilizing TikTok, which, these things seem menial, but you see these funny videos as opposed to this is serious and this is intense and this is, having relatable, marketable content is wonderful. And I think USEF, especially like USA Dressage, if you go on their TikTok or whatever they post on Instagram, the like specifically the funny and relatable videos they make, like they'll do like Eminem mashups or something, like from inside the sport. I find that way more relatable. And I notice that I'll be like, oh, I do dressage. And they're like, oh my gosh, wait, is that thing with the crip walking horse? And I'm like, yes, you've never even met a horse in your life and you know this. Like, we can see where the information is going to. And I think we all, you know, in our sport, we take ourselves too seriously. And I think the marketing reflected that seriousness for a long time. And I think that
You know,
hoping,
I have other people, friends, horsey friends, who went ahead and joined the fan base for USEF because it was free. And the fact that it's free and the fact that it is what it is needs that one right there. I agree with the gentleman. That needs to be expanded. It needs to be advertised everywhere. Why aren't there full page ads in any of the magazines? And truthfully, I've pretty much canceled most of my subscriptions to a lot of the magazines because they're full of is $1 million houses I can't afford in Florida. It's hard to find anything really about a horse, and it's disappointing and it gets boring as all get out. But a big full page ad in there about the fact that this is a free membership. Now, yeah, that's a horse magazine. But again, as I said earlier, get it into non-horse magazines that you can join this thing for free if you give a darn about a horse or even ever wondered what they were. And something that has really bothered me as well is you go back and talk about the history of the various people in our sports, and there have been a lot of good ones. But the new people coming in, the kids that I see coming to my horse shows, they win awards named after somebody. At the end of the year, they get this trophy in honor of blah, blah, blah. They don't have a clue. Not a clue who that person is.
Absolutely.
And I think it is just pathetic that these kinds of national recognitions given out to people at the end of the year, or even they should advertise the small shows. It isn't all about the big shows, and the small shows are the ones that a lot of people can more afford. They need to get more of that out there. And I've told that to USHJA with their magazine. They push outreach, which is awesome, but they never really talk about it. They never really run any ads or stories about any of the shows that are doing it. All they talk about are the big guys, which makes the general public believe that you got to have lots of money and be one of those big guys to get into this. They are defeating their advertising when they do that. They don't encourage anybody to come in who hasn't got lots of money, if that's all they show them are the ones that have it. So I've told them time and time again, why don't you ever talk about the small shows that have great shows, nice shows, and the lower level exhibitors show? Yeah, well, they're going to do that. They're going to do that. But again, back to the point about the awards. Why at the end of the year when they win those, isn't there just a little tiny biography about the person that was named after? How the heck do you intend to continue the history of our sport without having to go back to 1898? So the kids nowadays, they don't care about 1898. Oh, yeah, that was great. However, if you told them they won that trophy in honor of whoever it might be after at this point in time, and who they were and what they did, briefly, you don't have to make it long. That can be done easily. I think that's I think it's a disservice to the people who win them, to the people they're named after, to the people who, produce them and hand them out. Why the heck don't you tell people who they are, why they're winning it, who they won it in honor of? Add some honor to the whole thing. And I'd like to see that addressed at all levels of our events.
Absolutely.
And advertised so that Joe Blow from Kokomo down here can say, oh, look, that 14-year-old kid won that great big trophy, and it was because so-and-so, the other name is on it, and she's got a horse, and if I go to Fan Free, the free fan thing with USEF, I can find out about this. Do they do that? No.
If there's time for one more comment.
Please.
I think these are some good inputs and some great ideas, and expanding some of these ideas of appealing to a broader audience. I would like to speak to that. So many people in the horse industry are so focused on horse shows, horse shows, horse shows. There are so many other fun, exciting things to do, and frankly, in my opinion, are a whole lot more fun than going in a circle trying to keep my heels down, you know? I spent 20-something years doing historical cavalry reenacting, fighting with sabers and jousting and charging cannons, and I drove swing on a 6-horse hitch pulling a cannon. I mean, there are so many fun things that can be done out there. There are wagon trains that crisscross throughout the country. There's so much more out there.
Yes.
That we could be letting people know to do. These kids these days, especially the economic and racially diverse kids that we're working on with some of these organizations, they don't want to be a dressage queen or a show princess. The guys especially, they want to be charge with a lance or shoot a bow. I have students that are into mounted archery, and they're having fun with this stuff. And there are organizations out there that support this kind of riding. And this is something that could expand the horse world tremendously, and it could bring us back to some good quality riding as well, because it's based on function more than form.
I agree.
So that's what I have to offer on that subject.
Very good. Very good.
Well,
yeah, we're having a very substantive, meaningful discussion. I do want to introduce Jeff Chambers, who's now joined us. Jeff is a member of the media. And while we were talking about this, I was thinking back to my childhood back in the 1950s. And we had wonderful TV shows. We talked about this a little bit the last time we had this session. But back in the 1950s, early 1960s, there was Mr. Ed, there was My Friend Flicker, the Lone Ranger rode a cool horse by the name of Silver, Roy Rogers had Trigger. Horses were really a part of our childhood. Horses were a part of our collective memory, so to speak. Unfortunately, nowadays we don't have that, and the kids that are growing up today don't have these equine heroes to look up to. So I think that's another area that we need to be talking about in this discussion. However, before we go any further, I do want to bring in a video that was submitted by our friends in Zimbabwe. This is what we are calling the State of Equestrian Sport in Africa. It was submitted by the very wonderful African Confederation for Equestrian Sports. And I want to share that with you. We can continue this discussion on the other side of the video, but I do want to go ahead and share this video with you, if I may. And we'll come right back to talking about the sport, not just in the U.S., but really around the world, to really look at what's going on. And I think there are parallels that we can draw between what we're about to see that's taking place on the African continent and some of the issues that we're talking about here today. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and play the video from the African Confederation for Equestrian Sport.
Good day, everyone, and thank you very much for allowing ACES the time at the Tom Bass seminar. Firstly, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Gail Hansen, and I am the Secretary General of ACES. And we'd like to just explain what is ACES. ACES stands for the African Confederation of Equestrian Sports and is a recognized organization in Africa for equestrian sports, jumping, dressage, vaulting, eventing, etc. We are affiliated with the FEI, which is our international federation, and also ANOCA, which is the African Olympic Confederation. Africa was the last continent to have representation at this level, and we were just constituted in 2016, so just 6 or going on 7 years now. So who are our members? So in order to be a member of ACES, you need to be recognized by both your recognized and constituted by your government, sports ministry, and National Olympic Organization, as well as a fully recognized member of the FEI, which is our international organization. I have a map here, so we have divided it a little bit into zones. We have 5 members in the north, which include Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, and Sudan. In the east, we have Senegal and Ivory Coast. In the west, we have Senegal and the Ivory Coast. In the east, Ethiopia and Kenya. In the Indian Ocean, we have Mauritius and Madagascar. And in the south, we have Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Swaziland, South Africa, and Namibia. But as you can see on the edge of the slide, Africa is a very big place. So we have 8,000 kilometers from top to bottom. And so we had divided it into these areas. We have a great difficulty in transporting our horses, as we have regional disease zones and borders, and our roads are not very good, and there's a lot of bureaucracy between countries and getting permits, etc., etc. So where we are currently in Africa is we do have regional competitions that we travel our horses. We're just beginning that and pushing with that. But if we want to have representation throughout the continent, we do have borrowed horse competitions due to these great travel distances. To give us a little bit of our history, we are involved in Africa Games, and so if equestrian is offered at a continental level, which is not every time, we need the country that's offering these games, that happen obviously every 4 years, to have an equestrian sport registered there. But in 2018, we did have the Africa Youth Games in Algiers and Algeria, and there's some photographs of our prize winners. The team gold went to Mauritius, silver to Algeria, and bronze to Zimbabwe. And in 2019, we had the African Games in Rabat in Morocco, where we had 6 nations. There we had 3, almost 4 nations on their own horses, and 2 nations did come from the south, and so they actually rented horses, and we had both individual and team champions for that game. To give a bit of background on the Youth Olympic Games, we have been represented at all of them so far. We medaled team bronze in Singapore in 2010, which was the inaugural games, and then in Buenos Aires in 2018, we also got the bronze medal. Last year we did have the Youth Equestrian Games, which was the COVID replacement. Africa seems to be specializing in bronze, so we came in with the team bronze there. But we did very well in the individuals, and South Africa got individual gold, and Morocco came in with individual silver. So we were very happy with that. And now we're looking forward to the Youth Olympic Games in Dakar 2026. So it's the first time for it to be in Africa, and the home crowd would love medals, so we're preparing. So just another sort of minute or two of your time. The Olympic Games, we have been represented in the 50s and in 1960 by just 3 athletes at the Summer Games. We managed to get to Barcelona in 1996. We had some big gaps where we had no athletes. In Hong Kong, we only had 1 athlete. London, we went up to 3, but we had not really come in with a team. Rio, we had 4, and this is across the disciplines, jumping, dressage, and eventing. And in Tokyo, we managed 2 teams for jumping, so we were very pleased with that. And the Egyptian team was placed 11th worldwide, so that was one of our great achievements. And we feel that the Continental Confederation is driving the greater successes. What are we trying to think for the future? We are still very young. We need to get the sport to so many more in Africa. We do have a solidarity program for YOG 2026, which is in Dakar. But our vision is greater. And although we have the strong 3 countries, which are Morocco, Egypt, and South Africa, the only countries, well, Zimbabwe did have 1 athlete at the Olympic Games, but basically those are the 3 with Olympic representation. We feel that we do need to lift up many others on the continent. And of course, it takes time, expertise, vision, and the great money. But we hope our journey will continue to excite you. And just on a closing note, just to keep up with us, we do have a website. We are on Instagram and Facebook. They both are manned by, and Twitter. And we've got young people manning these, so they're keeping you abreast of the athletes that we follow. Thank you very much for your time, and we're very grateful to be part of this.
Very good. That was Gail Hansen, who is the Secretary General of the African Confederation for Equestrian Sport, just providing a perspective from another part of the world. One of the things that has always been appealing is that we are really a world community. So when you travel from one part of the world to another, you always find horsewomen and horsemen with arms open to their fellow lovers of equine sports. And it's certainly wonderful as an American to be able to travel to various countries in Africa, to travel to China, to travel to Bangladesh, to travel to India, and always meet fellow horse lovers. So it's really kind of a wonderful experience. Jeff Chambers, welcome aboard. As we were saying, you are one of our preeminent video journalists in the equestrian sports field. You may want to introduce yourself and give our viewers a little bit of background, and then we'll be very happy to screen just a small sampling of one of the projects that you're currently working on.
Okay, great. If everyone can hear me fine, it is a pleasure to be on this call with you all. And I'm a fan of everyone, because I'm a fan of the equine sports. And like Melvin said, I am in the film production side of media. So I basically work in film production. And on that note, I work on documentaries that I just find very interesting. And one of the sports I found fascinating, incredible, was anything dealing with a horse. And so I started seeking out folks where I could learn their story or hear more about their stories. And I found many people that had incredible stories, and that's what I was introduced to Melvin. And as me and Melvin talked, we had a love as well as the same direction for telling more, getting more of the equine sport out to the public, the general public, and the mass media. So that's part of one of my initiatives, is to make film projects that are directly dealing with this subject, so we can get more of that in the mainstream media and get highlighted more, get more support behind it. So I was excited when Melvin asked me to be part of the seminar and just kind of share what I do. So I'm going to stop talking and hear more about what you all do, and just continue to help and support.
Good. And the piece that you've submitted, Jeff, is called Born to Ride?
That is correct. Yes. I decided to do a piece on African-American females that ride in equine sports. Non-traditionally, we see a lot of African-Americans, females that play basketball, play tennis, that do some of the traditional sports. But this was unique to see Black women who ride a horse discipline sport. So I created a documentary that highlighted three different equine sports and 4 different women, and it's called Born to Ride. And I sent over the teaser or the trailer to Melvin, which I think he's gonna.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, here we go.
My ultimate goal is to be the first African American female to make the National Finals Rodeo.
Kanisha Jackson, her daughter Courtney, and her mother Stephanie are a rodeo dynasty, 3 generations of competitive cowgirls.
I never thought that all 3 of us would be competing at this particular level. Courtney being 8, Kanisha being 29, and then me.
This is Skipper. This is Courtney. This is Nikki. This is Chig.
When they see kids that are competitive, that compete with us, it makes them want to be able to do the same thing.
As my family would say, I'm a 3rd generation rider. My grandfather rode, my mother rode, I rode. I can remember whether I was walking or riding first. I think I was on a horse before I could walk. And the passion started there. So that kind of ignited my passion and started the drive, and the rest is history. It's been horses all day, every day since then.
Wow. Born to Ride. 4 beautiful young ladies. Jeff, thanks so much for sharing this. If anyone has any questions, I'm sure Jeff would be more than happy to answer them. But beautifully put together, my friend.
Thank you. It's going well. The documentary is going very well. It's just timely because following each person and on their schedules, it just takes a long time. So it's going to come together very well. And I believe it's going to be received very well. And is needed to highlight the equestrian athletes.
Very true. While we're on the subject of beautiful young ladies, I just want to mention that next weekend in Wellington, Florida, there's going to be a Nations Cup, a very high-level team show jumping competition. And they're competing for the United States are going to be 2 women of color. And earlier early this season, they made history by, for the very first time, and this was verified by the USEF, for the very first time representing the United States of America in international competition on the same team, 2 women of color. And those were Mimi Gotchman, who was also our U.S. representative at the Youth Equestrian Games last year in Aachen, Germany, and Mavis Spencer, who was selected along with Mimi Gotchman to be on the U.S. Nations Cup team that competed in Spain and in Portugal late last season. Many of you would know Mavis Spencer as the daughter of the very famous actress Alfre Woodard. So this is history that is happening right now. And it's very, very exciting to turn on the TV or open a magazine and see these 2 young ladies competing for the United States Equestrian team. And it's certainly for those of us who grew up in the 1950s, where names such as Frank Chapeau, Mary Chapeau, George Morris, Bert Timothy are all in the headlines. It's quite something now to see Mavis and Mimi as flag bearers for our country. And so it is history in the making. So these are people that we need to be following and certainly need to be congratulating and being very, very excited about. And I know that there are a number of other riders that are coming up. Shayna Simon, that was in Jeff's piece, is hoping to go to the Olympic Games next year in Paris. So it's a very exciting time to be an equestrian in this world. Any other comments? Anyone else have a thought? Is this stimulating thought in anyone's mind?
Yes, I think that was a great video. I really enjoyed it. And I would like to hope that he would have the opportunity to get that shown everywhere, not just to horse people, because it was proof of, you know, people being able to do other sports that the other lady was talking about, which is great. I think that those young ladies, I'm not trying to be argumentative about this, please don't take it the wrong way, but those young ladies who are going to be showing in Wellington have money. We come right back to the bottom line. And even the lady in the Africa film said the same thing. It needed money. That's your bottom line. There are a lot of good riders of any ethnicity who simply will not have or do not have the money to make it to that level. But that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy having a horse. The bottom line being, too, that we can never forget, and we must push welfare. The welfare of the horse, which is USEF's biggest responsibility, to make sure that as we push our sport, we have to emphasize not just anyone can have a horse, do a horse. What you have to understand the welfare of the horse. That's a big thing, and something that we all agree as horsemen, you know, is the number one. That's
live streaming is on.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. It's a very big challenge, and
but you made the progress.
Yeah, I mean, we can't knock the progress. And
Right.
I think that Mimi and Mavis, despite their families being very, very wealthy, will inspire a lot of other young men and women throughout the world to get into horses, to attend a horse show, to follow our sport. And it to my mind, it's a good thing.
Whatever happened to Black entertainment television? That young lady, her mom rode, and the young
Yes,
girl,
yes.
They even trained with our CEO of the USEF. And yet, how is it that the BET television has not been instrumental or helpful or pulled in to advertising? They are advertising to the people that you're talking about. You know, why hasn't that happened? They were very involved.
Yes, yes. Well, I know that they were involved, and I believe that Dr. Sheila Johnson is still very much involved, both with horses and also with hospitality.
But are they letting the world know about it so that other people will want to get involved?
Yeah, well, I mean, their family no longer owns the network. The network is now corporately owned,
Right.
but there
Yes,
are a
correct.
number of other outlets, you know, for this. Mikhail, would you care to jump in here and help us understand some of the challenges that are facing us just in terms of getting the word out? Because I think Peggy's bringing up some excellent points here.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of it is just a lot of people don't like to hear this, the hard, honest truth. But for a very long time, USCF was not reaching the audiences that they were speaking in their meetings that they wanted to reach.
Right.
They get stuck in their little circles and their little cliques.
Right.
And they want to, you know, scratch this person's back and this, that, and the other. And I'm a type of person, I will tell the honest truth no matter
Same.
what. I'm not It's not about, hurting somebody's feelings, because here's the thing, it's not personal. People are putting personal into the big picture. It's not about, making sure that so-and-so over here is happy. It's what is the end goal that we're trying to get to? So that's a lot of the challenges when you have just those internal bodies. They just get in the way, honestly. They get in the way.
Agreed.
But, moving on to this point, a lot of it is, it's a quote unquote unknown territory. And change in general makes people nervous. It really does. For whatever reason, change makes people nervous. And so, the first thing that would be said, let's just bring up BET, for instance. Let's say, hey, I want to do an ad on BET for XYZ. First question that's going to come up, we haven't done anything with them before, Like, it already, those questions, they don't really mean to do so, but those questions are already canceling out the idea. It's not nurturing the idea. It's, let's just sit back and actually list out all the pros and cons first, versus trying to not do it this way. A lot of people want to stick to the quote unquote tried and true way. But that tried and true way is not getting you what you want. And me, I just have no shame in just saying it how it is. Like I've dealt with USCF. I may be new to the staff of being, working in the office, but I have been around USCF for many, many, many years, working specifically with the marketing team on a lot of different efforts. And I tell them the same thing. It's like, this sounds great, but like, what's the next step? If you're going to do, for example, like a webinar like this conversation, here we go. We're having this one conversation here. What is to happen after we leave this group?
Correct.
These are the things that aren't being answered. So they're doing the efforts, they're doing the webinars, putting out educational videos, this, that, and the other. But are you continuing that conversation? That's where I've come in now, and it's like, okay, that was great. You just did this, but we're actually going to bring it back up, because all you did was put it in an online magazine. Now that should probably go to a webinar, talk about it again. And then you did a webinar, you should probably make a video about it now, talk about it there. Now you got to see where this video is being viewed. I don't want to see it on the USCF network. Let's get it somewhere else. You have to continue moving forward, and they get really caught up in their just everyday to-do lists. It's just like getting through, even just in this very short amount of time that I've been in this office, that's what I've gathered from just the vibe as a whole. They get so focused on each of the individual sports and the big competitions and this, that, and the other. And it's like, that's great. But we also have these smaller shows over here where we could be doing this. We also have these radio stations that could be saying something. We have these news stations that can be doing something. There's all sorts of ways to expand this. But in a lot of cases, they're scared, because it's not, they don't have a buddy that's in there, or they don't know, the inside folks, and they just want to stick with their own little circles. And I'm like, guys, you can't do that. It's not going to work. I mean, nice try. If you want to, you can keep doing that, but that's what you've been doing. So I've gotten really good at just saying, no, that's not going to work. Next.
Yeah. Mia has a comment, and then I want to get back and ask a question to you, Mikhail, specifically in terms of your mandate with the USCF. Mia, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, so this is more of sort of a statement than a question, but when you were talking about the financial aspect of being in horse sports, I 100% agree. There's sort of this notion that, if you work hard enough, like, like, or something like that. This is, of course, as we know, a myth. It's the myth of upward social mobility. And I talk about this like 24/7. I grew up poor. I'm currently poor. For honesty's sake, I live at the poverty line. I take advantage of CalFresh benefits, which is EBT food stamps. Like, I'm poor, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I constantly get discouraged because I see people who are in the exact opposite boat of me in this industry. And more often than not, when you look at it, just like from a statistical standpoint, look at the top 5 riders, look at the top 10 riders in each country, or even, U25, young rider, adult amateur, open classes, no matter what it is, historically, when you look at that and you break down, okay, you have access to more training. You have access to, in quotation marks, nicer horses, more expensive horses. You have access to travel. You have access to either having a job where you can just like take off for 6 months of the year competing, or, you don't have a necessity to be doing that job, or, you look at all of these things, and I have been told my entire career, and it drives me insane, you're just not trying hard enough. You're just not working hard enough. If you want to be successful and wealthy in this business, then you must do A, B, and C. And every single person that has told me this either has a last name that everyone in the world knows, or comes from a dynastic family of dressage, jumping, whatever it is, some horse discipline, or comes from old money, comes from new money, comes from some kind of money, and they think that like this is the way they've lived their entire lives. So they see somebody like me, and they're like, well, just try harder, just like whatever. So I think it is an important concept to note that, yes, the more visibility, the more diversity, 100% better. That is so crucial and so paramount. And I'm like, every day I see a new face, a diverse face, I'm excited and so overjoyed. But at the same time, we do have to remember the financial aspect that comes with it, and how it is so disparaging to have this massively different class of people competing on massively different fields. And having this, like, for instance, I own my own horse, but I barely get by. And it has, some of my peers have owned horses their entire lives, multiple horses for multiple years, decades, whatever. And it has always felt very inaccessible to me. I have felt very discouraged historically. I have been given like a lot of bad advice and a lot of like very judgmental rhetoric in regards to that. So I think it is important to note that the financial aspect of the sport is so high. I don't know compared to other sports, but it's prohibitively expensive in many senses. So I think it's important to acknowledge that.
Okay. Thank you, Mia. If I can just jump in for a second, we have about 20 minutes left on this conversation. So I want to make sure that we get everyone in with their comments. I see Jeff, we have Catherine, and then Peggy. So Jeff, if you can come in briefly, and then we'll go to Catherine and Peggy.
Yeah, sure. All right. So what you're saying is, well, one of the things that was brought up is very true. People are reaching out to, say, BET, which is owned by Viacom now. There should be some type of partnership to bring and highlight athletes in the equine sport. That's one of the things that I'm pushing for, is to be in some of the meetings and pushing some of these projects towards these streaming platforms or these big companies, pushing these projects, pushing this subject matter to the forefront, so they can say, all right, yes, this is something that we love, is great. We want to put it on our network. We want to continue to build on these stories. So you and I, Melvin, we're both pushing to bridge the gap between what people see here and what streaming doesn't see. So we're trying to bridge that gap, and it's coming along pretty good. I've had a couple of different meetings, and they're interested in the subject matters, especially the horse and the relationship between a horse and a person. They really love it. So in the efforts of continuing, that is going to happen. Like the connections with the BETs, the connections with the Amazon Primes, the HBOs. In fact, bit of good news. HBO Warner Media really loved the Born to Ride docuseries. So Just need to get one in, and they'll definitely say, all right, what's next? And that way, now we have a bridge to start bringing these projects and these incredible stories. And I believe as you bring these incredible stories, the funding will happen, because, of course, they will see that this is some benefits, some financial benefits to be made putting this out. So we need to fund it in order to continue putting it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the young lady who mentioned that, why are they not using the other platforms? You're very correct, but we're pushing to make that happen. So just wanted to say that.
Exactly. All right, we'll go to Catherine and then to Peggy.
I agree with the young lady that talked about the cost and the divergence of, if that's the right word, of economics in the industry. And I want to bring up the idea that perhaps a lot of this is because of the show industry. We have gotten so focused on what we look like rather than a quality ride that we're having to make rules about the tightness of nosebands. I mean, we truly need to get back to good riding rather than just looking good because we have the right boots and the right saddles, and we can buy enough horses. When one of them breaks down, we can throw away a horse and buy another one. When I grew up showing, we showed our barrel racer cow pony that fox hunted all winter. We put him in the hunter trials in the spring, and these were big fences out in the field, and it depended on how you rode and how your horse performed, not what you looked like, and not how much you could drag your horse's nose in and how many draw reins you could put on your horse. We have gotten so far away from quality riding into what we look like in the show ring, and that now you can, if you enter enough shows, you can win enough championships to go to the bigger shows. It's not about having enough money to go to enough shows and buy enough horses and buy enough trainers. We need to start focusing on quality riding and quality horsemanship that we've forgotten. And one way of doing this is to offer different aspects of riding that goes beyond the show ring. And they're a lot more fun, if you ask me. I've had a great time, and we can have so much more fun with our horses. I see these kids in the show ring, and they think that's all there is to do, and they're stressed to the nines. And you can't look at them and realize that are they really having fun?
Yeah, very true. All right, we're going to go to Peggy, and then I'd like to call on Clifford to help us close this out. Peggy?
Going to what the lady just said, that would be a part of advertising. Let's advertise something that other venues, other different ones. And as to
Let's do some videos.
As to Mia's comments, you can have a horse and not have to aspire to go to the Olympics. You can show at a lower level or not show at all. If you love horses and you want to ride them, don't let them, if you can afford to keep the horse, ride at whatever level you can ride or show at or whatever, and be happy with that. We can't all go to the Olympics. And to Mikhail, unlike you, unfortunately, people ask me, why don't you tell me what you really think? Because I have a habit of saying what I really think. I don't mean it to be offensive at all. I just can't not say what I think. I'm so happy to hear that you are inside the USEF, and I think the USEF is a big part of the problem. I think they are the ones responsible for so many of those rules that have taken all the riding away from it and just made it, can you sit there and pose? They've done it. They make rule after rule after rule. I'm glad to hear a younger person is in there. I think they need a lot of younger people, and I think they need to listen to them. They make too many rules. They're too overbearing. They've become more like a very restrictive parent than anybody really interested in doing what our sport, is trying to encourage people to ride and enjoy horses. That's the bottom line. And they've pulled us far away from that. And I think it's very sad, but I'm hoping that the kids like Mikhail hang in there, keep speaking your mind, and get more young people involved, and let's fix it and go back to being sensible about a lot of what they do. Congratulations. Thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you too. Clifford, and then I'd like to go to Mr. Sek in Senegal, and then I will close us out so that we're within our assigned time limit. Clifford?
I keep forgetting to unmute. I'm just hoping that at the end of this we can all exchange emails or some way to get in touch with one another, because this has really been fabulous. I agree with Peggy. The USEF has been a big problem, but I see they sponsored this gathering here, so they hopefully they've learned from their mistakes. They seem to be correcting their mistakes.
Good. Well, what we will do, Pamela and I will make sure that later today we send out to everyone on the call. We just send everyone's email address. That's agreeable to the group. We'll go ahead and send out and share everyone's email so that we can all be in touch, because I think we would like to continue this conversation. In fact, I'll go ahead and say we need to continue this conversation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Our friend in Senegal, Mr. Sek, if you could just add a few words, and I have a couple of questions for Mikhail going forward.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. So, I learn a lot. I will learn a lot. I'm listening very well to the comments and enjoying experiences. What I can see that in Africa we have a lot of potential, and we can do great things here. So I welcome everybody to this game in 2026. So I think that what I can say to everybody is that congratulations for the great job you're doing all. We really appreciate it. Today is a great day for me. It was my first time to participate in this kind of seminar, and thanks and congratulations to everybody. Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you so very much. Mikhail, you have a wonderful mandate, and I congratulate you for being in the position that you're in. We brought people together today. We've had a chance to share some input from around the world. I know one of the conversations that was taking place last year with Tom O'Mara, the president of the USEF, involved Gail Hansen from the African Confederation for Equestrian Sports. And we were talking about the possibility of bringing some of these young athletes from countries such as Senegal, from countries such as Namibia, and in other parts of the world. We talked about China, we talked about Bangladesh, to a friendly competition where young people from around the world can come together and learn about each other, learn about their countries, but be able to share things through this marvelous vessel that we call the horse. And I see that Mr. Sek has an additional comment, so I'll defer to him, and then we can come back and close out in just a minute. Mr. Sek?
Yeah, just I just would like to send a short video we already prepared to everybody, so that you have get an idea about what we are trying to build and to do here in Senegal.
Yes. Please share that video with us. And what we can do is we can put it up on our website and make it available to everyone who registered for this call. So that's definitely something we can do, and be very happy to share that with the group.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. I was getting back to Mikhail. There's a job that needs to be done, to my mind, as someone who's looked at this sport for 60 some years now. And I think there's a job that needs to be done. And I think we're very fortunate to have you in this position. Can you just give us a little bit of information in terms of your mandate and what we can expect from your office in the next 12 to 16 months?
Change. No, USEF, they're in a very, very unique spot right now. It's actually really exciting. Just, the overall vibe in the office right now, I feel as if people are starting to really get on board and get on the same page where we can actually start to see some of the changes that we're trying to bring forward. So like I said, a lot, like just looking at our, our fan initiative that's really being pushed right now. Our membership almost more than doubled just within a year just doing that. And it's, now it's understanding how to then cater to this new audience, which is not really something that we've really chimed into. And so that's really, as an organization as a whole, that's what I'm starting to see. I think that we had our annual meeting back in January, and there were a lot of folks from the affiliate disciplines that were starting to really get on board with a lot of this stuff. Our board of directors seem to be coming together and getting on board with this. And it's now let's do it, So it's trying new things, looking at things from a different perspective, and really seeing, what can we do more to bring the joy of horse sports or horses in general to as many people as possible. That's the end goal. And it's really just, it's keeping it simple, coming back to that initiative. And that initiative was launched, years ago. I mean, we're talking like 2015, 2017, the Joy campaign. And what we've seen is we've gotten like little branches off of that of kind of revamping. And we've already started planting that seed of what is that next big campaign that we're going to do. We're not there yet to launch anything close to that. We're still working on this Joy campaign, dealing with this, new fan membership base. But I feel like now, ideas, they are seeds and they're being planted. And I think we're getting more and more people within our organization that are nurturing these ideas. And so there's just a lot of new things that are coming around. We've got a new initiative we're starting to work with a lot of the college programs that have agriculture or equine specific classes, to reaching out to those students. We've, talked about things, trying something new about dealing with just the city of Lexington, with it being the horse capital of the world. We have a huge visitor center that's right in our downtown that has nothing about, it has a lot about the racing industry, but it doesn't have really anything else. And I think USCF is in a perfect position to make a statement, be in there, be present, and get more of the general public, not only just aware of what all horses have to offer, but then in turn, it's just bringing more people to the sport. So I'm really excited. I've thoroughly enjoyed being here, even for the very short amount of time that I have been in the office. But I'm also I just like to get things done. I don't want to talk about it. I want to get it done.
Exactly. Thank you. And then before we close, does anyone else have any final thoughts? Okay. I had a chance during the pandemic a couple of years ago to speak with Mimi Gotchman, who, as I said, was one of our representatives on the U.S. Equestrian team right now. And she gave us a very clear and concise overview of her definition of diversity. And I'd like to share that with you just before we close. So here's a little thought from Mimi Gotchman about the subject of diversity.
People of color is the first word that comes to my mind when you say diversity. I'm a person of color, being an Asian woman in the sport of horse riding. Michelle Obama is a person of color and they're part of diversity, in my opinion. Also, things like changing. Change comes to mind when I think of diversity, and branching out. Something different from the norm, something or people that aren't who you would expect when you first thought. Like, I think that sometimes when you think of people or think of things, you automatically assume the first thing. But I try to be diverse, as in I try to think outside the box and think more further away from the norm. And I mean, I think that's what I think of when you say diversity. There's not a lot of people of color in our sport. We're not a very diverse sport, I will go to say. I think that it's really hard to change that, especially since it's been this way for so long. But I think a good way to start would to be obviously talking about it, which is something we're doing right now, and to see that change not only in riders, but also show management, judges, high people that other younger kids can look up to, because it's not going to change right away, which is something that I can't change. And I think that if there were other examples in the horse world that other kids could look up to, maybe people of color would want to come join and be open to coming here. But when you look at the horse world and you look at all the famous figures as horse riders, they're usually white people. And I hate to say that, but as an Asian person, I mean, I barely see any other Asians in the horse world. And that's just personal. I mean, I think in order to change, we need to start by including like a judge, a person of color judge, a person of color show manager, people that you see all the time coming to the show. Because, I mean, that's the only way it's really going to start changing and being a more diverse community.
We'll leave you with that. Definitely words of wisdom by a young person who has gone quite far in a very, very few years. This has been really, really wonderful. I thank everyone who has been part of today, been part of the fourth Tom Bass Seminar on Diversity in Equestrian Sports. And we're definitely going to do this again. So as I said, Pamela and I will make sure that everyone that's been on the call today is included in the mailing list. We'll distribute that. We'll share that with all of you later today. If any of you have any questions or concerns, you can always reach us. Our joint email address is marketing@sportsquestinternational.com, marketing@sportsquestinternational.com. And I look forward to having an opportunity to meet and share a meal or a drink with each and every one of you sometime later this year. This has been a really, really wonderful experience, and I think we've all benefited greatly from it. So I thank you very much. If anyone has a closing thought, share it with us, or else we'll go ahead and adjourn.
Well, I just have a question. I really just have a question. Now, I'm on the USEF website to become a member right now. I was trying to fill it out, but I just really want to know, should I be a fan or a subscriber? What membership is the best one for me? I want to definitely want to support. So I'm filling it out right now as we closing it out. If someone can tell me which one would be a better one, fan or subscriber.
That is all dependent upon what involvement that you want to have. So the fan and subscriber memberships are actually very, very close. The biggest difference that you're going to see with those is the access to the on-demand content that is primarily with the horse shows. So with the horse shows, the fans are able to watch them live, but then to go back and to watch that same horse show again, you would need that subscriber membership to do that.
Okay.
But they do have access to the on-demand learning center and other educational items on the USCF network.
Sure thing. Then I'll just do the subscriber membership. Thanks a lot.
You're very welcome.
Supporting. I'm on board 100%.
Excellent. Every membership counts.
Clifford?
No, I was just agreeing. I'm glad Jeff is signing up. I did the same thing. I did the free membership and 1 year of that, and I said I got to sign up. This is really good. I'm so glad USEF has finally jumped on board. I think it's when they do it, everyone else will follow.
Absolutely, absolutely.
McKeel, thank you for representing. I've seen you in the ads. You are like fabulous, man. It's really good to see us out there.
Yeah, we were watching, Pam and I were watching your gold medal routine from several years ago, and yeah, just the magic in your routine really had us both just wanting to stand up and applaud, and we're so happy that you're doing what you're doing. So keep up the good work. All right. And Mia, you keep doing what you do as well. We are very, very proud and happy that you've taken the time to have a national champion with us for 2.5 hours today. Has been nothing short of magic. And thank you all everyone for all of your comments and all of your input. I do want to, in closing, say thank you to a number of organizations and individuals. First of all, thank you to our friends and colleagues here at the Tryon International Equestrian Center. This is the 4th time in a row that they've opened their facilities to us. We would not be able to have the smooth and clear broadcast quality pictures that we have been putting out to the world today without their support. Their tech support team was here on time this morning, getting us set up and making sure that we tested everything before we came on the air. And it's been absolutely wonderful working with them. And we like the relationship. It's been a very good and equal relationship over 4 years, and we wish it to continue. I also want to thank our friends and colleagues at Eventing Nation magazine. They've always been there for us. They've always been very supportive and have contributed mightily to the Tom Bass Seminar on Diversity in Equestrian Sports. I wish to thank our friends at ACES, the African Confederation of Equestrian Sports. They have been working, for the last couple of months, very encouraging to what we're doing, very supportive of what we're doing, and have presented us with a lot of good information this afternoon. Of course, to our friends and colleagues at the United States Equestrian Federation, Mikhail, thank you so much, and I will personally thank Tom O'Mara when I speak with him later this week. We want to thank the British Ethnic Riders Forum and Sandra Murphy for their support of the Tom Bass Seminar, and finally our friends and colleagues at Legacy Equine in Lexington, Kentucky. To all of the champions from 2022 and into 2023, we want to say congratulations and keep on keeping on. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure to be with you, and I thank you so very, very much. We will do this again, and we will continue to watch and to keep an eye and to ask those hard questions whenever necessary to bring about a greater diversity in the sport that we all love. So thank you very much, and thank you for being part of the 4th Tom Bass Seminar on Diversity in Equestrian Sports. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Okay. God bless.
Great job.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye now.